Shalom, family. Most High in Christ bless. Can everybody hear me and see me clearly? All right, all praises. Can't tell you how much I hate technology, even though that's my field. I hate it. All right, so today is First Chronicles chapters 10 through 13. Um, a lot of times when people are reading Chronicles, and everybody does it. I did it the first time I read the Bible, but I actually went back and actually read everything. A lot of people skip over the name chapters. A lot of people skip over the name chapters. Um, why? Because they think it's tedious and it's a bunch of names that you can't pronounce. But there was a reason for them writing names down in here. All right. So don't just think that those names are there for nothing. Same thing with the creating of the temple in the last part of Exodus, when Moses was given the directions on how to create the temple. There's a reason for everything. It's not just written in there for no reason. All right. Um, most of it has to do with the census that we took, uh, especially in the returns from captivity. Because if you when we read on and continue reading, and we get to like the book of Nehemiah, you're going to see that when we came back from captivity, there was a registry that we did in order to tell who was the priest, what tribe you came from, where you could be, because each tribe had a certain allotment of land. So don't think that it's just there for no reason. It's there for a reason. All right. I just wanted to say that. So, do I have a scribe? Do I have a brother scribe for me? And so the brother that asked the question about the frankincense is something that we did in the scriptures. They burn frankincense. All right, Josiah. All right, all praises. So we have First Chronicles chapter 10, verse 1. And remember, First Chronicles, after you get past the name chapters, is basically a recap of First Samuel. All right. The things that happen in First Samuel is the life and the troubles of David and uh, his escape from Saul, his rise as king, everything that went down in his house. Uh, those are the things that you're going to start to see repeated in Chronicles, because Chronicles was written from a Southern Kingdom standpoint, and we know that because Southern Kingdom had the registry in Jerusalem. Northern Kingdom, a good portion of Northern Kingdom was not in Jerusalem uh, at the end of the captivity. A remnant of them came, and they were brought to the land of Zebulun over the land of Galilee. All right, so First Chronicles chapter 10, verse 1. Now the Philistines fought against Israel, and the men of Israel fled from before the Philistines and fell down slain in Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines followed hard after Saul and after his sons. And the Philistines slew Jonathan and Abinadab and Malchishua, the sons of Saul. And the battle went sore against Saul, and the archers hit him, and he was wounded of the archers. Then said Saul to his armor-bearer, Draw thy sword, and thrust me through therewith, lest these uncircumcised come and abuse me. But his armor-bearer would not, for he was so afraid. So Saul took a sword and fell upon it. And when his armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, He fell likewise on his sword and died. So Saul died, and his 3 sons, and all his house together. And when the men of Israel, and when all the men of Israel that were in the valley saw that they fled, and that Saul and his sons were dead, then they forsook their cities and fled, and the Philistines came and dwelt in them. So this is recapping what happened with Saul, the death of Saul and Saul's sons. Remember, the Philistines came and they were having a battle with Saul, and Saul lost the battle. And for a good reason, he lost the battle. And we're going to read it right here. And it came to pass, verse 8, and it came to pass on the morrow, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, that they found Saul and his sons fallen in Mount Gilboa. And when they had stripped him, they took his head and his armor and sent into the land of the Philistines round about, to carry tidings unto their idols and to the people. And they put his armor in the house of their gods, and fastened his head in the temple of Dagon. So the god Dagon is, you know, that thing that the Pope be wearing, that fish-like thing, or you may see the fish symbol on the back of people's cars. I know it's old, but that's a symbol of Dagon. That's what that. It was the fish god. That was their god, Dagon, and they try to attribute that in Christianity. Verse 11. And when all Jabesh Gilead heard that the Philistines had done all that the Philistines had done to Saul, they arose, and all the valiant men, and took away the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons, and brought them to Jabesh, and buried their bones under the oak in Jabesh, and fasted 7 days. So they still showed mourning for Saul, because none of us want to see our brothers or sisters get put to death. And when it happens, it's something that is not right. It's something that doesn't sit right with us, no matter what they've done. That's why we pray for all Israel, that they can recover themselves. Some will and some won't. But it's always been in Israel to mourn the dead of our people. All right. Verse 13. So Saul died for his transgression which he committed against the Lord, even against the word of the Lord, which he kept not, also for asking counsel of one that had a familiar spirit to inquire of it, and inquired not of the Lord. Therefore he slew him, and turned the kingdom unto David, son of Jesse. So those of y'all who may not remember what Saul did, Saul went and asked a woman of a familiar spirit to show him Samuel. Now that's why a lot of y'all, if y'all have been watching the radio show that we have in New Orleans, Precept Upon Precept, you know that we brought this out once before. Like, a lot of people, that left hand of God, that thing is real. A lot of people, they mess with that stuff and they get entangled in that stuff, and they get spirits put on them. And remember, the scripture saying in Deuteronomy, suffer not a wish to live. And don't go to them. They got familiar spirits and divination and stuff like that. It's not our custom to do such things. Now go to 1 Samuel chapter 28, verse 7. We're going to go to 1 Samuel chapter 28, verse 7, just showing you what Chronicles was telling you about the woman with a familiar spirit. All right. 1 Chronicles chapter 28, verse 7. It said, Then Saul said unto his servants, Seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servants said unto him, Behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit in Endor. And Saul disguised himself and put on other raiment. And he went, and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night. And he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring him up, whom I shall name unto thee. And the woman said unto him, Behold, thou knowest what Saul hath done, how he hath cut off those that have familiar spirits and the wizards out of the land. Wherefore then layest thou a snare for my life to cause me to die? And Saul sware by the Lord, saying, As the Lord liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for this thing. Then said the woman, Whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, Bring me up Samuel. So the woman let it be known that, hey, I'm not supposed to be doing this. Why are you even asking me to do this? Because if I get caught, I'm going to die. And Saul put it on the Lord's name. There wasn't nothing going to happen to this woman. And this is why. Jump up to verse 5. Watch this. Jump up to verse 5 real quick. It said, And when Saul saw that the host of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled. And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. So the Lord wasn't answering Saul. So Saul says, I'm not getting the answer from the Lord, I'm going to go and seek an answer for myself. Jump down to verse 12. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. And the woman spake to Saul, saying, Why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. Then the king said unto her, Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth. And he said unto her, What form is he of? And she said, An old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed himself. So Saul was so far removed from the Lord that he actually went to a witch to bring up the spirit of Samuel. She brought up the spirit of Samuel. And then Samuel said, Look, you're going to die tomorrow. And that's what we read in 1 Chronicles chapter 10. The reason why Saul died is because he went astray. He disobeyed the commandments of the Lord. And the last straw was him going to seek that familiar spirit. That was the last straw. The Lord said through Samuel, he said, You are going to join me tomorrow. You're going to be where I'm at. Well, the difference is Samuel died righteous. And Saul, But we asked for Saul. Remember that. We asked for Saul. The Lord was going to be reigning over us. We said, nah, we want to be like the other nations. They got a king over them. We want a king over us. 1 Chronicles chapter 10 is a direct correlation with 1 Samuel 31. All right. Now, on to 1 Chronicles chapter 11, verse 1. All right. And just so y'all know, just to write it down for y'all, chapter 11 is a direct correlation with 2 Samuel chapter 5. All right. So 1 Chronicles 11 is a direct correlation with 1 Chronicles chapter 11. 1 Samuel chapter 5 and 1 Chronicles 11. I mean, 2 Samuel chapter 5, 1 Chronicles 11. It's the same thing. Verse 1. Then all Israel gathered themselves to David unto Hebron, saying, Behold, we are thy bone and thy flesh. And moreover, in time past, even when Saul was king, thou was he that led us out and brought us in Israel. And the Lord thy God said unto thee, Thou shalt feed my people Israel, and thou shalt be ruler over my people Israel. Therefore all the elders of Israel came to the king in Hebron. And David made a covenant with them in Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel according to the word of the Lord by Samuel. So remember, look at it said it twice. My people Israel, my people Israel, my people Israel, my people Israel. It's over and over. The Bible does not change. It really doesn't. It does not change. Verse 4. And David and all Israel went to Jerusalem, which is Jebus, where the Jebusites were, the inhabitants of the land. And the inhabitants of Jebus said unto David, Thou shalt not come hither. Nevertheless, David took the castle of Zion, which is the city of David. And David said, Whosoever smiteth the Jebusites first shall be chief and captain. So Joab, the son of Zeruiah, went up first and was chief. And David dwelt in the castle, therefore they called it the city of David. And he built the city round about, even from Milo round about. And Joab repaired the rest of the city. And David waxed greater and greater, for the Lord of hosts was with him. So This is one of David's many, many wars that he fought. And imagine that, the Jebusites telling King David, hey, you better not come up here. And David go smash everybody and take the city anyway. Because remember, like, when Christ walked the earth with 12 brothers. And none of them brothers were soft. None of them were soft. All of them was solid brothers. All right, except for one. But, you know, we all got that one. We all got that one. But they were solid brothers. All right. Remember, Peter cut somebody's ear off. You know how precise you got to be to cut somebody's ear off and not hit their shoulder? You got to be a master with that sword. Now we're about to get into David's mighty men. All right, verse 10. These are the chief of the mighty men whom David had, who strengthened themselves with him in his kingdom, and with all Israel to make him king, according to the word of the Lord concerning Israel. And this is the number of the mighty men whom David had: Joshabin and Hachmonite, the chief of the captains. He lifted up his spear against 300 slain by him at one time. I can't even imagine that. I can't even imagine that. He slew 300 people at one time. Now we be watching anime and you know, these little Japanese fighting karate flicks and stuff like that. They be running through the crowd. Our forefathers did that stuff for real. They did that stuff for real. You know what I'm saying? They came up. The dude said he slew 300 at one time. How you kill 300 people at one time? 300. 300. That's a bad brother right there. Verse 12. And after him was Eleazar, the son of Dodo, and Ahoite, who was one of the three mighties. He was with David at Pasdammim, and there with the Philistines were gathered together to battle, where a parcel of ground full of barley. And the people fled from before the Philistines, and they set themselves in the midst of that parcel and delivered it, and slew the Philistines, and the Lord saved them by a great deliverance. The Most High was working with these brothers. The Most High was working with these brothers to be the mighty men that they were. That's why when we go out here in the street, this is not a physical war. No, it's not. But as mighty as they were physically, we're supposed to be that much more mighty scripturally and spiritually. How they stood up against 300, we're supposed to stand up against 300 with the word. How they was David's mighty men, we're supposed to be the mighty men in these scriptures. That's why we have to study. We have to make our calling and election sure. This stuff is not going to just, if you read the Bible once, you're not going to retain everything. This stuff, you got to go over it constantly, and always ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I be irritating the hell out of the captains over me. I have questions all the time. Sometimes it be confirmation. Sometimes you kind of know and you just want to confirm. So what? Hit them up. Hit them up. Hit your officers that's over you. Hit them up. Wear their doorsteps out. Wear their phone out. Leave messages. Call them. Do whatever you got to do. But we're supposed to be the mighty men in these scriptures. We're supposed to be the mighty men just like David's mighty men was. All right. Verse 15. Now 3 of the 30 captains went down to the rock to David into the cave of Adullam, and the host of the Philistines encamped in the valley of Rephaim. And David was then in the hold, and the Philistines' garrison was then in Bethlehem. And David longed and said, "Oh, that one would give me drink of the water of the well of Bethlehem that is at the gate." So remember, this is the takeover, all right, of us taking the land. This is the takeover of us taking the land, right? So they were in a stronghold. Now, those of y'all who are, a stronghold is a place that you kind of camp at so that you can plot on what to do to the enemy to overtake them. So when you're plotting on the enemy and what to do to overtake them, you have to have what's called a stronghold, meaning a solid place where you can be, that you can gather your troops and you can gather your plan and you can execute it. You're not too far off to where running them over is going to take a long time and take a lot of energy out of you. And you're not too close that you'll be found out. All right, that's what a stronghold is. So David said, "Oh, that one would give me drink of the water from the well of Bethlehem that is at the gate." That's all he said. David was just in there like, man, I wish I had some of that Bethlehem water. Let's see what his brothers did. And the three mighty men that we just read about, Joshabim, Eleazar, and who else? Well, those were the chiefs and the three mighties. So the three mighties, out of the 30 men that he had with him, there was three main ones. So the three main ones, verse 18, and the three break through the host of the Philistines and drew water out of the well of Bethlehem that was at the gate, and took it and brought it to David. But David would not drink of it, but poured it out to the Lord. So these three dudes like, "Oh, you want some water from Bethlehem? We got you." And then went and handled business, killed a whole bunch of people, got some water and brought it back to David. David was like, "Nah, that's not right." Let's see why. Verse 19, and David said, "My God forbid me that I should do this thing. Shall I drink the blood of these men that have put their lives in jeopardy? For with the jeopardy of their lives they brought it. Therefore he would not drink it. These things did these three mightiest." So the three mightiest captains, and just so you know, yes, they were all captains. But guess what? There were three of those captains that was above all of those. So there was 30 captains, and then there were three chief captains. Just like the Lord has angels, and then he has archangels. Order, structure, rank. It doesn't stop. It does not stop. So David was like, "Look, I'm not about to drink no water. These dudes almost died for. I can't do that." That's the kind of heart that David had. In verse 20, and Abishai, the brother of Joab, was chief of the three. For lifting up his spear against 300, he slew them, and had a name among the three. Of the three, he was more honorable than the two, for he was their captain, howbeit he attained not to the first three. So the first three men that David had was like top notch. Then these dudes, the next three, was mighty. But there was one of the three that was over the other two. Another order, structure, rank. Verse 22. And Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Kabzeel, who had done many acts, he slew 2 lion-like men of Moab. Also, he went down and slew a lion in a pit in a snowy day. I know a lot of y'all live up north. And I know a lot of y'all have had snow days. I know about snow days. Because my family in New York, we used to go up there we used to go up there when I was younger. And snow days ain't no joke. They got black ice on the road. Sometimes in certain weather, you cross over bridges, the bridges are slippery. He slew a lion in the snow. And you know they didn't have the kind of shoes that they got today. It wasn't no grip. This brother was just that bad to the bone that he slew a lion in the snow. And then killed 2 lion-like men of Moab. It ain't like Moab, it ain't like all of them be little. Some of them be big. And he killed both of them. No problem. Verse 23. And he slew an Egyptian, a man of great stature, 5 cubits high. And in the Egyptian's hand was a spear like a weaver's beam. And he went down to him with a staff and plucked the spear out of the Egyptian's hand and slew him with his own spear. This brother was off the chain. This brother was off the chain. This brother was bad. This is the kind of stuff I like to read. Dude say he plucked the spear out the Egyptian's hand and killed him with his own spear. Man. Talk about bringing a knife to a gunfight. No, you bringing a knife to an Israelite fight. You messed up anyway. You bringing a knife to an Israelite fight. Man, these brothers is bad. Verse 24. These things did Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and had the same name, and had the name among the three mighties. Behold, he was honorable among the 30, but attained not to the first three. And David set him over his guard. So no matter how bad these dudes was, that top three that we read about earlier in the chapter, nobody was touching it. You slew a lion in the snow? All right, that's cute. That's cute. He slew a lion in the snow. That's cute. I like that. Maybe my son will do that when he turns 12. The other three was badder. They was the baddest. The three mighties. That's what they was known as. The three mighties. Verse 26. Also the valiant men of the armies were Asahel, the brother of Joab, Elhanan, the son of Dodo of Bethlehem, Shemoth, the Horite, Pelez, the Pelonite, Ira, the son of Ikish, the Tekoite, Tekoite, Abiezer, the Antothite, Sibbecai, the Hushathite, Eli, the Ahoite, Maharai, the Netophathite, Heled, the son of Benah, the Netophathite, Athai, the son of Ribai of Gibeah, that pertained to the children of Benjamin, Benaiah, the Pirathonite, Hurai, of the brooks of Gaash, Abiel, the Arbathite, Asmaveth, the Bahuramite, Elihabah, the Shalabonite, the sons of Hashem, Gizonite, the sons of Hashem the Gizonite, Jonathan, the son of Shagi, the Haarathite, Ahiam, the son of Sekar, the Harathite, Eliphal, the son of Hefer, the Mecharathite, Ahijah, the Pelonite, Hazro, the Carmelite, Naarai, the son of Ezbai, Joel, the brother of Nathan, Mibhar, the son of Hagirai, Zelek, the Ammonite, Zaharai, the Berathite, the armor bearer of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, Ira, the Ithrite, Gareb, the Ithrite, Uriah the Hittite, Zabad, the son of Ali. So Uriah the Hittite was one of David's valiant men, same one that he had killed. Adina, the son of Shiza, the Reubenite, the captain of the Reubenites, and 30 with him. Hanan, the son of Maacah, and Jehoshaphat, the Mithnite. Uzziah, the Ashtarothite, Shema, and Jael, the sons of Hotham, the Arorite. Jadiel, the son of Shimri, and Joah, his brother, the Tizite. Eliel, the Maavite, and Jerubai, the Joshua, sons of Elanam, the Ithmite, and Ithma, the Moabite. Eliel and Obed and Jaziel, the Mesabite. So trust me, it's a lot of names, but it's a lot of purpose behind those names. All right. And those of y'all who are looking to change your names, go through these scriptures, go through these books and see which characteristics line up with you. Which characteristics do you see in yourself? And name yourself after your forefathers. That they got their names from what their parents saw in them. And sometimes their name was changed because of the valiant acts that they shown. Like look at Abram. Abram went from Abram to Abraham. Jacob went from Jacob to Israel. You know what I'm saying? Like certain people, Paul went from Saul to Paul. Certain people, their actions create their name. All right, 1 Chronicles chapter 12. 1 Chronicles chapter 12. Now these are they that came to David to Ziklag, Right. Now these are they that came to David to Ziklag, while he yet kept himself close because of Saul the son of Kish, and they were among the mighty men, helpers of the war. They were armed with bows and could use both right hand and the left in hurling stones and shooting arrows out of a bow, even of Saul's brethren of Benjamin. Remember, that's something that Benjamin had always had a reputation of doing. Real quick, go to never mind, never mind. Was gonna go to it, but Benjamin had a reputation of being ambidextrous. They could hurl stones at a hair breadth. Like if you was to take a hair and hold it up in front of a Benjamite, they could throw a stone with their left or their right and hit it. That's how bad them brothers was. Verse 3. Verse 3. The chief was Ahiezer, and then Joash, the sons of Shema, sons of Shema, the Gibeathite, and Jeziel and Pelet, the sons of Asmaveth, and Berakah, and Jehu, the Antophite, and Ismaiah, the Gibeonite, the mighty men among the 30, and over the 30, and Jeremiah, and Jahaziel, and Johanan, and Josabad, the Girathite, and Eluzai, and Jeremoth, and Bealiah, and Shemariah, and Shephatiah, the Heraphite, Elkanah, and Josiah, and Azriel, and Joezer, and Jesherbeam, the Korites, and Joelah, and Zebediah, the sons of Joram of Gedor, and the Gadites that were separated themselves. Then the Gadites there separated themselves unto David into the hold to the wilderness men of might, and the men of war fit for the battle, that could handle shield and buckler, whose faces were like the faces of lions, and were as swift as a rose upon the mountains. So David had Gad on his side that were mighty men of war. That's why when Esau came over here and tried to take Gad over, Gad was smashing on him. Gad was even helping Judah to escape off to some of them plantations, especially some of the ones down here in New Orleans, because that's where a lot of y'all Creoles come from. There's a mixture between Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and Gad, because Gad was helping them to escape off the plantations, and they started to intermarry off of the plantations. Verse 9. Ezer the first, Obadiah the second, Eliab the third, Mishmena the fourth, Jeremiah the fifth, Attai the sixth, Eliel the seventh, Johanan the eighth, Elzabad the ninth, Jeremiah the 10th, Machbenai the 11th. Those were the sons of Gad, captains of the host, one of the least over 100. One of the least was over 100, and the greatest over 1,000. These are they that went over Jordan in the first month, when it had overflown all its banks. And they put to flight all them in the valleys, both toward the east and toward the west. And there came of the children of Benjamin and Judah into the hold of David. So Gad, remember Gad, it was Gad and a few other tribes stayed on one side of Jordan while the rest of the tribes went on the other side of Jordan. I think it was Gad and Reuben. And they put everybody that was in their land, they whooped all their behinds and they took over that land. That's our lot of land. That was our inheritance from the Lord. And that's how they got into that land. Verse 17. David went to meet them and answered and said unto them, if ye be come peaceably unto me to help me, mine heart shall be knit unto you. But if ye come to betray me to mine enemies, seeing there is no wrong in mine hands, the God of our fathers look thereon and rebuke it. So David was David was leery of the children of Benjamin because of the beef between him and Saul, because he knew Benjamin gonna stick with Benjamin. I mean, look at the book of Judges. Benjamin had a fight with all 12. All right, and we do JB. We do a Bible reading like this every single day. So he was leery of Benjamin, so that's why he said, "Look, if you coming to help me, all right, cool. But if you're not, then the Lord gonna punish you." All right. Verse 18. Then came the Spirit upon Amasai, who was chief of the captains, and he said, "Thine are we, David, and on thy side, thou son of Jesse, peace. Peace be unto thee, and peace be unto thine helpers. For thy God helpeth thee." Then David received them and made them captains of the band. And there fell some of Manasseh to David, which came with the Philistines against Saul to battle. But they helped him not, for the lords of the Philistines, upon advisement, sent him away, saying, "He will fall to his master Saul to the jeopardy of our heads." So even the Philistines, when they was coming against Saul, the Philistines knew, like, all right, David is beefing with him, but he's not going to betray him. He's not going to come against us like that. You know what I mean? Verse 20. As he went to Ziklag, there fell to him of Manasseh Adnah and Jozabad and Jediel and Mikael and Jozabad and Elihu and Zilthai, captains of thousands that were of Manasseh. And they helped David against the band of the rovers, for they were all mighty men of valor and were captains of the host. For at that time, day by day, there came to David to help him, until it was a great host, like the host of God. So when the Most High is working with you, he is going to send that help. That's why Christ said, pray for more laborers. Pray for more laborers. He didn't say pray for more laborers and then stop doing the work until you get more laborers. No, you continue doing the work and he's going to add to you, just like he added to David. And he added his brothers. Ain't that something? Judah was already out there doing the work, and then Manasseh started coming around, and Gad started coming around. You know what I'm saying? That's what the Bible is about, the unity of the brethren. If we unify, there is nothing that we can't do. Nothing that we can't do. If you try to do things yourself, you're going to fall, you're going to fail every single time. If we could do it ourselves, we wouldn't need to be the nation of Israel. If we could do it by ourselves, Christ wouldn't need to come and die. We can't do it ourselves. So just like when David was on his campaign to be the ruler and to take over the things that the Lord had set aside for us, God, he did the work and God added to him. Verse 23. And these are the numbers of the bands that were ready armed for the war. And it came to David to Hebron to turn the kingdom of Saul to him, according to the word of the Lord. Then the children of Judah that bear shield and spear were 6,800 ready, armed for the war. And the children of Simeon, mighty men of valor for the war, 7,100. The children of Levi, 4,600. And Jehoiada was the leader of the Aaronites, and with him were 3,700. And Zadok, a young man, mighty of valor, and of his father's house, 22 captains. And the children of Benjamin, the kindred of Saul, 3,000. For hitherto the greatest part of them had kept the ward of the house of Saul. And the children of Ephraim, 20,800, mighty men of valor, famous throughout the house of their fathers. And of the half tribe of Manasseh, 18,000, which were expressed by name, to come make David king. And the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do. The heads of them were 200, and all their brethren were at their commandment. So remember, Issachar had knowledge of the times. That's why when you go out and you talk to Issachar on the street, and you talk about the Aztecs and the Mayas, you bring up their Mayan calendar. You bring them to 1 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32, and show them, like, look, hey, y'all had knowledge of the times. Y'all had knowledge of the times. Y'all knew exactly how to get from the eastern hemisphere all the way to the western hemisphere by boat. That's not an easy feat. They knew how to do that. Verse 33, of Zebulun, such as went forth to battle, expert in war, with all instruments of war, 50,000, which could keep rank. They were not of double mind. You see how the scripture, go to Ezekiel 37 real quick. Go to Ezekiel 37 real quick. You gotta see what the Lord has made of us. Remember what he called us. Remember what David said we are to the Lord, the armies of Israel. How dare this uncircumcised Philistine come against the armies of the living God? Why did he say that? Go to Ezekiel 37. We're going to read verse 10. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army. An exceeding great army. All right. Said verse 27 and 28. Who were they? Those were Levites. It said the Jehoiada was the leader of the Aaronites. The Aaronites are Levites, the sons of Aaron. And Zadok was a Levite as well. All right. So when you go back to 1 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 33, of Zebulun, such as went forth to battle, expert in war, with all instruments of war, 50,000, which could keep rank. Meaning they stayed in their proper order. They stayed in order. And what else did they say? They were not of double heart. They listened to orders. They wasn't double-minded. It wasn't, all right, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be over there. No. These men of Zebulun listened to order. They listened to structure. They kept their rank. Meaning they played their part. They played their role. They wasn't trying to be head this and head that. They wasn't jockeying for position. They played their role. And what we're reading is the mighty men of David that were going to battle with him. When we go to battle out there against the wickedness of this world, we have to keep our rank. We have to keep our rank. It's imperative. Nothing is going to get accomplished if we don't keep our rank. And we can't be of a double heart. Verse 34. And Naphtali, 1,000 captains with them, with shield and spear, 30 and 7,000. And of the Danites, expert in war, 28,600. And of Asher, such as went forth to battle, expert in war, 40,000. And on the other side of Jordan, the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh, with all their instruments of war and for the battle, 120,000. All these men of war that could keep rank came with a perfect heart to Hebron to make David king over all Israel, and all the rest of Israel were of one heart to make David king. This is what we have to understand as Israel. The brothers that were on the other side of Jordan still was of one accord with the rest of the tribes to make David king. That's why we have to be of one accord. Because who's going to sit on the throne of David now? Christ. Christ is going to sit on the throne. And we say Christ because that's what's written in the Bible. If another word was written for the Savior, they had hair like wool, white as snow, eyes like a flame of fire, and skin like brass burned in the furnace, who came and died for the nation of Israel, we would call him that. But his name right here is Christ. And he's going to sit on the throne of David, his father. All of these men were of one accord. They had a perfect mind, meaning they were one. They were on one accord, like 1 Corinthians said. They were on one accord to make David king over all Israel. Verse 39. And they were there with David 3 days, eating and drinking, for their brethren had prepared for them. Moreover, they that were not them, even unto Issachar and Zebulun and Naphtali, brought bread on asses, and on camels, and on mules, and on oxen, and meat, meal, cakes of figs, and bunches of raisins, and wine, and oil, and oxen, and sheep abundantly, for there was joy in Israel. Look at how much joy there was in Israel by us making our king over us. Because we were of one mind. We were winning all of our wars. We were winning the battles. We was taking over the land that was promised to us, that we wanted for nothing. That's why there was joy in Israel, because we came together. That's why a lot of us, we all upset and we mad all the time. And you always depressed because you're not with everybody else. That's why when you go to the feast days, you're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to be happy at those feast days. Why? Because you're with everybody. You have one mind, one accord. You ain't supposed to be at the new moon and the feast of dedication and tabernacles, all gloom and doom. You better go somewhere else with that. We deal with gloom and doom every other day out the week. Even the Sabbath. You're supposed to be happy on the Sabbath. We serve a God that gives us a mandatory day off. Mandatory. It's a mandatory day off. And we want to be mad and upset. You better straighten yourself up. All right, chapter 13, verse 1. And David consulted with the captains of thousands and hundreds, and with every leader. And David said unto all the congregation of Israel, if it seem good unto you, and that it may be of the Lord our God, let us send abroad unto our brethren everywhere that are left in all the land of Israel, and with them also the priests and the Levites, which are in their cities and suburbs, that they may gather themselves unto us, and to let us bring again the ark of our God unto us. For we inquired not at it in the days of Saul, and all the congregation said that they would do so, for the thing was right in the eyes of all the people. So David gathered all Israel together from Shihor of Egypt, even unto the gathering of Hamath, to bring the ark of God from Kirjath-jearim. And David went up in all Israel to Baalah, that is Kirjath-jearim, which belonged to Judah, to bring up thence the ark of God to the ark of God, the Lord, that dwelleth between the cherubims, whose name is called on it. And they carried the ark of God in a new cart out of the house of Abinadab, and Uzzah and Iho drave the cart. And David and all Israel played before God with all their might, and with singing, and with harps, and with psalteries, and with timbrels, and with cymbals, and with trumpets. So they were moving the Ark of the Covenant of God from one place to another. All right, David said, all right, we're going to move the Ark to where I am. So the priests that are around can always inquire of the Lord. Remember, we had the Ark of the Covenant. All right, and don't let people tell you that the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. Just real quick, I know I got time, just real quick, just in case y'all run across some simple people that want to be deep, and they tell you, no, the Ark of the Covenant, that's in Ethiopia. All right, let's see. All right, go to Second Maccabees chapter 2. Second Maccabees chapter 2. This is the cut for those idiots that say that the Ark of the Covenant is somewhere in Ethiopia. Second Maccabees chapter 2, verse 4. It was also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of God, commanded that the tabernacle and the ark to go with him as he went forth into the mountain, where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of God. And when Jeremy, which is Jeremiah, came thither, he found an hollow cave, wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark and the altar of incense, and so stopped the door. And some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it. Which when Jeremy perceived, he blamed them, saying, as for that place, it shall be unknown until the time that God gather his people again together and receive them unto mercy. So the ark of God is not going to be found until Christ come back. So those people that's talking about the Ark of the Covenant somewhere in Ethiopia, they're idiots. They're idiots. Back to First Chronicles chapter 13. We'll read verse 9. And when they came to the threshing floor of Chidon, Uzzah put forth his hand to hold the ark, for the oxen stumbled. So they walking, they carrying the ark. The ox stumbled that was carrying the ark, and the ark was about to fall, and Uzzah tried to reach and catch it to stop it from falling. Verse 10. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and he smote him because he put his hand to the ark, and there he died before the Lord. The Lord don't play. The Lord don't play. The ark was only supposed to get touched by the Levites. That's it. Nobody else supposed to touch. I don't care what's going. That's strict. That's the God that we serve. Don't touch it if I say don't touch it. You know how your mama say if she leave you at home, a lot of us, that a lot of 80s babies, we was left in the house alone, all right? It wasn't right, but, you know. When your mama say don't answer the door for nobody. I don't care if you hear gunshots outside and none of that. You better not open that door. I don't care who it is. They could be banging at the door talking about they could be banging on the door talking about help me, help me, help me. You better not touch that door. You better not touch that door. You better not touch that door. I ain't even going to entertain that one. Verse 11. And David was displeased because the Lord had made a breach upon Uzzah, whereby that place is called Perez Uzzah until this day. All right. And David was afraid of God that day, saying, how shall I bring the ark of God home to me? So David was like, man, if this dude just died just by touching it and it was about to fall, then what am I supposed to do? So this is what David did. So David brought not the ark home to himself to the city of David, but carried it aside into the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. And the ark of God remained with the family of Obed-Edom in his house 3 months, and the Lord blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that he had. So the ark of God was there to bless us. Because remember, when the Philistines took it, the Philistines got hemorrhoids and boils. That's what hemorrhoids is. They got hemorrhoids and boils for having our ark. And then they told us, hey, y'all better come get it and take it away. And then when we took the ark away, then it was all right. But that goes to show you the power. You know what I'm saying? Yep, if they don't have a key, don't come in. If they ain't got a key, they better not come in. They can't come in. So just like our parents did with us with that front door, don't you open that door for nobody? That same thing with the ark. That nobody better touch that ark. Nobody, if it fall, let it fall. You better get another Levite to come over here and pick it up. So that was First Chronicles chapters 10 through 13. Does anybody have any questions pertaining to those 4 chapters? I am not going through anything that I did not read today. The Aaronites are the sons of Aaron. Saul didn't die trying to see Samuel again. He went and inquired of a woman with a familiar spirit, and that's in 1 Samuel chapter 28. Oh, that's all right, Josiah. I appreciate your diligence, bro. No, those men were not Moabites. Those men lived in the land of Moab. When you see Uriah the Hittite, such and such, the Moab, they were not Moabites. They lived in the land of Moab. And that, with disobedience, like, are you talking about the Ark of the Covenant? That type of disobedience? First Chronicles 11 goes with 2 Samuel chapter 5. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show you how close it is. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you how close it was. Now look, I'm gonna just show you this map. All right. Now, right there, where my finger is right here, that's Northern Kingdom. That purple that you see, that's Southern Kingdom. And right here, what do you see? Moab. Moab. That's how close we were. That's how close the Moabites were. It's not like they were really far. They were right on our border. So they had some of us that lived in those lands. So when they call them such and such the Moabite, such and such the Hittite or whatever, they're talking about Israelites that lived in those lands. All right. If nobody has any other questions, Most High in Christ bless all of y'all. I pray that all of y'all have a good rest of y'all day. Um, they should have some more classes coming on. Hey, oh, okay. You must have been looking for that scripture when Saul was killed by the Philistines. Yeah, he was killed by the Philistines. Uh, First Chronicles chapter 10, verse 13 was the cause. Yeah, First Chronicles chapter 10 parallels with First Samuel chapter 31. Yeah, First Chronicles chapter 10 parallels with First Samuel chapter 31. And it's good when you're reading these to always go back and like refer to those chapters that it parallels with, because it'll keep your mind steady. Because going from First Samuel to Second Samuel all the way through Kings, now you're in Chronicles, which is basically retelling First Samuel again. It's good to always go back, because sometimes they'll summarize things and they won't give you everything that they gave you in Samuel. Like same thing going through the Gospels, like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They all say the same thing. Somebody's going to give you more here and more there and that. You know. All right, brothers and sisters. Most High in Christ bless all of y'all. Have a good rest of your day.